Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us on Business Incorporated, coming to you live from our Lagos studios. I'm Chimize Obi Iwago. On the show today, Nigeria's $300 million diaspora bond gets the Best Deal of the Year award of the 2018 African Banker Awards. Africa Development Bank and South Korea sign a $5 billion deal on financial cooperation. Plus, Rwanda hangs tough on used clothes ban despite U.S. threats to withdraw AGOA benefits. Let's start off the program with the markets, and here on the African continent, the South African JSE index fell the most at intraday, down 1.24% after data from Statistics South Africa showed headline consumer inflation rose to 4.5% year-on-year in April from 3.8% in March. On a month-on-month basis, inflation quickened to 0.8% in April from 0.4% in March. And here in Nigeria, the NSE index was trading in the red, down 0.14% at intraday. However, Egypt was up 0.24%, while Kenya closed positive on Tuesday. In the Middle East, most of the markets were in the green at intraday except Dubai. Looking at the numbers, and now Abu Dhabi gained more, up 1.30%. Saudi Arabia was up 0.25%, while Qatar was trading high at 0.07%. Over now in Europe, stocks were lower in early trade amid Italian government uncertainty and soaring market sentiment over ongoing trade talks between the world's two biggest economies. For more, let's cross over to Frankfurt to talk to my colleague there, Janelle Dumalon. Hello, Janelle. Good afternoon. Good to see you today.
Hello from Frankfurt.
Now, yesterday, the theme seemed to be recovery in the markets. Today, they're back in the doldrums. Both reactions to the same topic. The latest comments from Donald Trump on the Chinese-American trade negotiations haven't been terribly upbeat. Does this mean the market's earlier optimism was premature?
It would seem that way now that Trump has said that he's not terribly satisfied with the way Chinese-American trade negotiations are going. Markets find themselves having to qualify that earlier optimism that they felt on what looked like a trade truce. In fact, just in the last half hour, Trump said that he felt that the trade negotiations needed a new structure. Now, we're still waiting on clarification as to what that could possibly mean. But as you mentioned, that has resulted in a bit of a slump for European markets. It started this morning, and as you can see behind me, it's still ongoing with regard to the DAX. Now, of course, it's hard to talk about Chinese-American trade relations without bringing up the matter of telecoms giant ZTE. Now, this is, of course, still a sticking point in the negotiations, and it's not clear whether a deal is any closer at all. Now, just as a refresher, back in April, U.S. companies were banned from selling parts to ZTE after it was found to be in violation of sanctions by making shipments to Iran and North Korea. Although last week, Trump said that he was working with the Chinese government and that he was worried about the loss of so many Chinese jobs. So that confused a lot of people because it sent a lot of mixed signals. Now, this time around, there had been reports that Trump and the Chinese government had actually reached a deal on ZTE. There were reports that he was going to let them go off easy in exchange for trade concessions. He since denied that that deal had taken place, but said that he would leave the door open to an agreement that would see a $1 billion fine, increased security, and a change in board. Now, of course, this is the sort of thing that U.S. lawmakers will be looking at with some measure of trepidation, because from ZTE, they're worried about espionage risks. And they're also worried about the U.S.'s credibility when it comes to enforcing sanctions. So they're taking steps to make sure that lifting restrictions of ZTE will not be that easy. So whether there is a deal on that front remains to be seen, and what that will mean as a case study for the larger discussion of Chinese-American trade relations is up in the air also.
All right, let's see what's happening in Germany, where you are. Of course, the home of diesel will see its first diesel ban come into force in the city of Hamburg. That will be on May 31. It's a blow to both the government and the auto industry, which tried to head up such bans. How likely is it that other cities will follow suit and the ban will be widely adopted?
Well, exactly, but that battle was lost as early as February when the German courts had ruled that driving bans within Germany are legal. So really, it was only a matter of time before cities started getting around to doing it. Now, I remember around the time after the court verdict, everybody was talking about how the ban would affect the everyday lives of people. This is a country with 15 million diesel cars on the road and about 2 million diesel trucks. Now, of course, consumers are worried, motorists are worried, small businesses are worried about the disruptions to their supply chain. Now, what we have here in Hamburg is a litmus test of enforceability. Cities will be looking towards Hamburg to see whether a driving ban really can be implemented and implemented well. And for car makers, I can imagine that what this would mean for them is that the pressure on them to introduce hardware fixes into the cars, retrofitting cars instead of the software updates that they've promised so far. Pressure on them to offer those kinds of fixes will increase, as well as buyback schemes, as well as trade-in schemes that are more favorable to the motorists. And they'll probably have to offer more models that bridge the gap between now and mass adoption of electromobility, like more hybrids and mild hybrids with more electric components. So all eyes will be on Hamburg after May 31st to see how the city officials get on, how motorists get on, and how the car industry reacts to this very first test case.
We'll wait and see.